negatives and the cons of the impact of social media on society. So I'm going to do that by a couple of things. I'm going to tell you about my research on the internet. I'm going to tell you about feedback I got from lots of people, young and old, and my personal experience and my personal conclusion and solution. First, in my research, I found that Sean Parker, one of the founders and a billionaire founder of Facebook, and the founder of Napster, personally said in an interview recently at a very big event that social media, Facebook particularly, was designed to be addictive, to consume as much of people's lives as possible, to provide them with a perpetual loop of artificial validation by friends, relatives, family, and people they don't even know. He acted like he almost felt a little bit bad about what he has done. And I think he's trying to do a little penance by funding the Cancer Research Center at this point. I can't disagree with what the man said based on my observation. I'm also a late adopter to most of these things. I resist because whenever it comes to identifying the direction most people are going, what I call a herd mentality, my hardwired system, I'm an anachronism in this regard, is to run the other way. I've always done that all my life. It's a personality characteristic. It may be a blessing, it may be a curse. It is what it is, and I accept it. So when I finally, at the encouragement of my daughter and other people, subscribed to a podcast service to do podcasts for my business just recently, I was validated and I realized what people are experiencing on these media because I got instant positive feedback from a lot of people. Gee, Steve, I'm glad you're doing this. Gee, Dad, I'm glad you finally took my advice, my daughter said. I am so impressed. I like your picture. I felt really good. And then I asked a couple of people to give me feedback on the content of the podcast. Zero, zip, nada, because nobody listened to it. They're impressed by the symbolism and the idea that I'm doing a podcast, but they haven't listened to a bit at this point. It's been a week. LinkedIn, at the encouraging of Danny Smith, who some of you know, many years ago I got on LinkedIn. And I started linking in with people. And next thing I know, to my surprise, I got endorsements. I've been endorsed for life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, annuities, long-term care, disability, group health insurance, individual health insurance, Medicare supplements, blah, 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 from hundreds of people I've never met. They're not my clients. I never met them. And I'm thinking, what does this mean? It looks good. It's a symbol of success. And I feel really proud and validated that all these people like me, and I've got 800 or so LinkedIn connections. Most of them haven't got a clue who I am and wouldn't know me if I walked in the door and slapped them in the face. And it just blows my mind. So my resistance to these things is real, it's true, it's honest. I understand the positives and the pluses, the impact, the educational gains, the informational gains, the ability to do research. What I don't like is what's encouraged by people's unfettered, unrestricted access to this kind of media without training, knowledge, or even perhaps personal discipline or good upbringing. It encourages groupthink and that herd mentality I talked about. It encourages political diatribes and ridiculous shoot-from-the-hip commentary that often is not thought out, many times is rude, and not very good for personal relationships. It discourages the personal relationships, the face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball, old-fashioned contact, which is what I prefer. It encourages narcissism. Look at me, look what I'm doing, look how good I am. But people don't post their negative stuff and their failures. They only post the stuff that looks good compared to the Joneses. It's the new way of keeping up with the Joneses, only at a faster pace and at a greater impact and a faster result, conclusion, good or bad. Therefore, I am embracing social media with the recognition that when it comes to the utilization, just like whiskey, wine, rum, over-the-counter drugs, prescription drugs, OxyContin, ice cream, coffee, or anything else, I can misuse it and abuse it and take it too far. So I have to be an adult, and if I'm in charge of my time, I choose to allocate my time. It's a precious resource, and I'm not going to spend it all at the exclusion of real life, real face-to-face relationships with real people.